The Grand Trianon is a château situated in the northwestern part of the Domain of Versailles. It was built at the request of King Louis XIV of France, as a retreat for himself and his maîtresse and titre of the time, the Marquise de Montespan, and as a place where he and invited guests could take light meals away from the strict etiquette of the court. The Grand Trianon is set within its own park, which includes the Petit Trianon. History. Trianon de porcelain. In 1668, Louis XIV purchased Trianon, a hamlet on the outskirts of Versailles, and commissioned the architect Louis Lavaux to design a porcelain pavilion to be built there. The facade was made of white and blue Delft-style porcelain tiles from the French manufacturers of Rouen, Lisieux, Nevers and Saint-Cloud. Construction began in 1670 and was finished in 1672. Trianon de marbre by 1687. The fragile ceramic tiles had deteriorated to such a point that Louis XIV ordered the demolition of the pavilion and its replacement with one made of stronger material. Commission of the work was entrusted to the architect Jules Hardouin-Mansart. Hardouin-Mansart's new structure was twice the size of the porcelain pavilion, and the material used was red marble of Languedoc. Begun in June 1687, the new construction was finished in January 1688 and inaugurated by Louis XIV and his secret wife, the Marquise de Montespan. During the summer of 1688, the Grand Trianon would often play host to the king and his wife. The first set of grand apartments lasted from 1688 to 1691. The next was from 1691 till 1701, then 1701 till his death at Versailles in 1715. From 1703 to 1711, the building was the residence of Le Grand Dauphin. The domain was a favorite of the Duchess of Burgundy, the wife of his grandson Louis de France, the parents of Louis XV. In the later years of Louis XIV's reign, the Trianon was the residence of the king's sister-in-law Elizabeth Charlotte of the Palatinate, Dowager Duchesses of Orléans and known at court as Madame. Her son, Philippe d'Orléans, future son-in-law of Louis XIV and regent of France, lived there with his mother. Louis XIV even ordered the construction of a larger wing to the Trianon, which had begun in 1708 by Mansart. This wing, called Trianon-sous-Bois, housed the Orléans family, including Louis XIV's legitimized daughter Françoise Marie de Bourbon, the king's youngest grandson Charles de France and his wife Marie-Louise Elizabeth d'Orléans also resided there. The Orléans family, who had apartments at the palaces of Versailles, were later replaced by Françoise Marie's sister, the Duchess of Bourbon. Madame la Duchesse lived at the Trianon and later built the Palais Bourbon in Paris, the design of the palace being copied on that of the Trianon. In 1717, Peter the Great of Russia, who was studying the palace and gardens of Versailles, resided at the Grand Trianon. The Grand Palace at Peterhof is copied on Versailles. Louis XV did not bring any changes to the Grand Trianon. In 1740 and 1743, his father-in-law, Stanislas Leszczynski, former King of Poland, stayed there during his visits to Versailles. Later, it was during a stay at Trianon that Louis XV fell ill before being transported to the palaces of Versailles, where he died on the 10th of May 1774. No more than his predecessor had, Louis XVI brought no structural modifications to the Grand Trianon. His wife, Queen Marie Antoinette, who preferred the Petit Trianon, gave a few theatrical representations in the Galerie des Cottels, a gallery with paintings by Jean Launay Cottel representing the bosquets of Versailles and Trianon. During the French Revolution of 1789, the Grand Trianon was left to neglect. At the time of the First French Empire, Napoleon made it one of his residences, and furnished it in the Empire style. Napoleon lived at Trianon with his second wife Marie-Louise of Austria. The next royals to live at Trianon were the King and Queen of the French, Louis Philippe, and his Italian wife Maria Amalia of the Two Sicilies. He was a descendant of the regent Philippe d'Orléans, and she was a niece of Marie Antoinette. In October 1837, Marie d'Orléans married Alexander of Württemberg at Trianon. In 1920, the Grand Trianon hosted the negotiations and signing of the Treaty of Trianon, which left Hungary with less than one-third of its pre-World War I land size. To the Hungarians, the word Trianon remains to this day the symbol of one of the worst national disasters. 1963 saw Charles de Gaulle order a renovation of the building, a popular site for tourists visiting Versailles. It is also one of the French Republic presidential residences used to host foreign officials. List of residents: 1690 to 1703, Louis XIV, 1703 to 1711, Le Grand Dauphin, son of Louis XIV, from 1708, Elizabeth Charlotte of the Palatinate in the Trianon-sous-Bois wing, 1711 to 1712, the Duke and Duchess of Burgundy, son of the above and his wife, 1712 to 1714, the Duke and Duchesses of Berry, brother of the above, 1717, Peter the Great, Emperor of Russia and his entourage, c.1720, Madame la Duchess, daughter of Louis XIV and Madame de Montespan, 1740 and 1743, Stanislas Leszczynski, former King of Poland, 1774, Louis XV, the week before his death, 1810 to 1814, Empress Marie-Louise, wife of Napoleon I, 1830 to 1848, Queen Marie-Amélie, wife of Louis Philippe. It is today the residence of visiting foreign dignitaries.